It's tea time. Hey guys, this is the Ryan Potuck's Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Potuck. Now, this is a podcast where we introduce the business side of golf. So, if this interests you, stay tuned for the episode. Hey guys, this is Ryan Potuck, the Ryan Potuck Golf Podcast, here with Cipriano again. Today's podcast is for Sip and I both. This is a really fun podcast for us. We believe wholeheartedly in having the right mindset and going after big goals, big dreams. Hence, this podcast is all about going after big stuff. This episode is about mindset, how to get in the right mindset, limiting beliefs, how can you break those limiting beliefs, and just how to go after that big goal. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to how this podcast goes. Should be a lot of fun.
Hey Ryan, how are
Sip,
you?
yeah, good, definitely good. Question for you, Sip. How would you define a limiting belief, first of all?
Ooh, that's great. It's anything that has been, I don't want to I guess drilled into you, or like a certain belief, for example, you have to get, I think you talked about this briefly on on the first episode, like you have to get a safe job, right? And no, this is the way to do it. You go to college, you get your job and you work it for 30 something years and you stay there and do it, right? Whether you're miserable or not. I think that's a limited belief, right? So, or you have to, I'm going to steal this one from you, but you have to have money to start investing in real estate, not
Mhm.
necessarily, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess that would be it. Something that you believe that has to be overcome, it has to be done a certain way. But guess
yeah,
what? Not necessarily.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and really, and again, my understanding of it is too is like it's something that you believe to your core, whether you can consciously, verbally express that belief because it's so deep inside of you that you don't even realize you have it. But it's a belief that you hold in your heart, just like some people believe the Earth is flat, some people believe the Earth is round. If you are so far one direction with that, you believe it. That means everything around you is based on that belief, and you live your life based on that belief. So that's kind of how I view it as well. And yeah, I kind of hinted at it there. There's so many things that we're brainwashed into early on. Like Sip, you mentioned there, uh, we're brainwashed early on to you have to go to school, get good grades, then go to a nice college, then get a nice, safe, reliable job to make a good income, work 30, 40 years until you're 75. You can retire on a good income. And that's when you can start living your life. And a lot of us drink the Kool-Aid and go into life believing that. But then, like, I forget what the stat is. I think it's like 80% of people are unhappy with their careers or something like that. Um, so the real question is, why don't we question those beliefs? Do you have to go to school? Do you have to get a safe job? Define safe. You know what I mean? Like so many things there
Exactly.
that are just embedded into us. So
Exactly. Yeah, and with the latest, I mean, just talk about like the time we're recording this podcast. AI is a big topic in the news, right? Man, what is safe nowadays, right? I mean, the jobs that you thought were going to be like super safe, like computer programming or computer engineering, or any of those things, right? What's really safe, right? So, I mean, you really got to put things into perspective and take action to whatever it is that you have, that you feel could give you more control in your future. So it might be real estate investing for some others, or it might be, going out on your own, doing your own thing in whatever field that may be.
exactly, yeah, and that's the thing. Like people view a job as safe, but how I view it, it's like this: if you are working at a job, to you, it could be safe because you're clocking in, you're clocking out, you're getting a paycheck, you have a pension or a retirement benefits, but you're at the mercy of your boss. If all of a sudden they downsize or you don't hit certain quotas, you could be fired. And then you have what was it like 2 weeks or maybe not even to leave that job. Uh, so how is that safe? You know what I mean? Like it's versus if you could find something that you're passionate about and you could work in that job full time on your own. If you want to make more money, just work a little bit harder, grind a little bit harder. How could you sell this? How can you do that? It's all about your desires and your wants to try and do more and produce. So I think it's almost, I would like to challenge it and say it's actually safer to be an entrepreneur if you believe in yourself. And that goes back to the limiting beliefs again. So it's kind of a full circle mindset and the beliefs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It does take at a certain point when you do shift your mindset to that, when you have enough confidence in yourself, and confidence comes from like actually doing stuff, right? I mean, you can read a million books and like read about a million things and try to analyze everything to death. But until you don't actually take the leap, make the mistakes, realize that they're not going to kill you, you just move forward. I believe
Yeah,
that you are 100% on. I mean, I haven't heard it put that way, but yeah, I think that's actually almost safer, right?
yes.
Because then you learn to rely on a skill that you've learned that nobody can ever take away from you, right?
Exactly. And you know what? That actually made me start thinking about this. A good personal story. Again, I'm 31. I when I first got into the whole real estate realm, I listened to Bigger Pockets and podcasts like that for a year straight. Like hundreds of podcasts, just nonstop listening to them, really getting the confidence. Um, and then one of the podcasts said, "Stop listening to podcasts, stop reading books, and just buy a property. You're
Yeah.
never going to learn." And I don't know if it was the amount of coffee I drank that day or what it was, but I was in the right mindset, and I'm like, you know what? I want to buy a property. And that's actually when I Google searched real estate investors near me. I found the mentor who had 20 some units. He went to a mastermind. I joined him. He now has 370 units.
Wow.
And uh, ever since joining him, I bought a duplex. I then bought a 5 unit. Um, I then sold the duplex to joint venture with those guys on an eightplex. And then I sold
Amazing.
the 5 unit to now buy a golf course. So I'm 31. In a matter of like 5 years or less, I'm buying a golf course and I have an eightplex, and I'm on a real estate team also outside of those guys, helping them take down bigger deals in the industrial flex space. Like, so many doors blew open just because I said, heck with the listening. I'm just gonna talk to realtors and buy that first property. So
Incredible.
yeah,
Incredible. Yeah, that's an
taking
amazing
action.
story, Ryan. And also, please share that story that you were telling me. I mean, you've told me several times it's such an awesome mindset shift about, and I don't want to steal this from you. So what you told me about your worst case scenario, please share that
Oh
with the
yeah.
audience. I think it's awesome.
Exactly. So what I heard, again, I'm not going to take credit for this quote, and I'm probably going to butch the actual quote, but I heard it on a podcast as well. The guy was talking to somebody and was like, "Okay, you have all these goals, these dreams, but you're afraid to leave your job or go after this new career path." He was like, "So what is your worst case scenario, right?" And they say, "Well, my worst case scenario is." I fail. I have to go back, go back to my job. I work my job for 30, 40 years. I retire at 65 and I don't have the health and the energy to go after what I want to do. And he looked at that person and he said, "So you're telling me your worst case scenario is your current scenario? That means you're already at the bottom. There is no below you. Like, you're living your worst case scenario. That means why not try aiming for something higher?" And when I heard that little story there, I was like, holy crap! Like that is true. Like, a lot of us want to leave our careers, but we're so afraid. And
Yeah.
but then it's like, okay, well, think to yourself, best case scenario, I go after something, it takes off, I'm doing my own thing, I'm leaving my job, I'm having so much fun doing what I want to do. Worst case scenario, I fail, I go back to my job and I do what I'm doing now, which is clocking in, clocking out, and work
Right,
for
right.
30 years. So
But at least you tried it, right? And you
exactly.
won't put your like you won't be in that proverbial deathbed having regrets about not trying it. That's my one of my principal beliefs, right? About, hey, listen, I may not succeed, but at least I tried. And one of my guiding principles is that speech by oh man, who was it? Theodore Roosevelt. It's called "A Man in the Arena," and it's like, hey, who cares about your critics, right? It's the man in the arena who matters, the guy who's trying it, the guy who's grinding at his as his goal. Because it's better to have tried and failed than not to ever have tried at all, right? So
Oh yeah,
there's yeah,
exactly.
so it's awesome, right? I love that. I love
Yeah,
that story. So glad
and
you brought it.
that also reminds me of a chart I saw at a real estate conference where he basically showed, if your goal is to, I'm going to go out there really crazy with this idea. Well, not crazy. People are doing this. I'm going to reframe my mindset. If I want to go to the moon, right? Like, I want to travel there. Okay, start believing like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I can really do it. Who do I know? How can I make this work? You start taking action. Um, by say 30 years out, maybe you did not go to the moon, but maybe you're working for NASA as like an engineer, or you're doing something at whatever level. Versus
Right.
if you did nothing, you'd be at the baseline. So even if you don't achieve that big goal, you're still going to be way higher than where you would be if you did absolutely nothing. So
Love it. Love
that's
it.
also every little step leads you in the right direction, and just taking action is very big. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I can, we can share personal stories about how, exploring different things, getting into different things has led us to directions where we didn't even know we were going to go,
oh
right?
yeah,
Like I had no intention of ever buying a golf course, but whatever, the universe, the Lord, whatever force brought us together, here we are, right? So it's
oh yeah,
amazing. But it's all because we've taken I mean, I know it sounds, you don't want to like repeat yourself, but it's just because we've taken action towards our goals and it just led us down, this path and that path. And like I said, here we are. We're taking like I said, no matter whether we fail or succeed, which I believe, you can't fail unless you stop, right? So it's just a learning lesson. I think
oh yeah.
one buddy always says that. And yeah, man, I love it. So good
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah, and it's going back to what you're saying about how you kind of end up where you never thought you would have been. I mentioned it in the last podcast, but my end goal in life when I was younger, up until a year ago, was I'm gonna be old, I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna buy a golf course, and that's my goal. Well, I moved the field goal to now. I'm buying a course
Mm.
now.
Yes.
Well, I'm not gonna sit on the beach and drink Mai Tais or whatever you want to call it for the next
Right.
40 years. So now I took an even bigger goal. I said, okay, I'm going to build a bigger brand. I'm going to buy more golf courses. I'm going to save mom and pop golf courses and build this awesome brand around this because I love golf and I want to help out the communities and save these golf courses. And it's just something that I never would have dreamed of if I stayed on the couch and I just said, I'm just going to clock in, clock out, stick with my job. Like, no, I said, I want to change my career path eventually. I want to go after these things. How can I start achieving goals now? And it wasn't just like in one day I had a golf course. So don't get that impression. It was a
Exactly.
year ago when I had this mindset shift. And just by taking small actions and talking to people and networking and defining and being crystal clear on what I wanted, that's when things started shaping in the direction. And I started
Yes.
becoming really crystal clear. So,
Oh, dude, I can literally attest to that story. I remember we were having breakfast that first day we met in Pennsylvania when I had that crazy snowstorm and I almost like freaking died on the way home. But
yeah, that's pretty intense.
yeah, but I remember you talking about it, and it was literally like you were like, "Hey, man, I'm going after this golf course thing," and then you were essentially reaching out to people at that time, but you didn't know a lot of the stuff. Then one thing led to another, and during that year, we started learning about business buying, which led us to, to explore SBA things, which, by the way, brings up another limited belief, right? Remember, you talked to that one lender, and he kind of steered you wrong, right? I mean, maybe he didn't know. I'm sure he didn't do it on purpose, but he kind of steered you wrong. But guess what? You didn't give up. Then you went to another lender and he was like, no, 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 we can do this. And then you made it
Yeah,
happen. So just a thing about, no, you did not give up. You did not quit. You didn't
yeah.
fail, right? You could have stopped and that would have been a failure in
Mhm.
acquiring a golf course. But no, you kept iterating and,
And and
refining the process.
to give you the other side to that story too, um, and I forget, Sip, I forget if I was already under contract when we last met a year ago or what it was. I really was hungry for this golf course.
Mhm.
As soon as I figured out how to do it, I immediately went to the broker and I said, I want to buy this golf course. And I'm gonna, one of the things we're gonna talk about is how to overcome some of these limiting beliefs. But I leveraged another company who I was networking with to show credibility. And I
Yes.
got the contract. I got it under contract. I had zero experience, zero knowledge. I was super new to it, but I was
Yes.
leveraging another company and another company
Right.
that agreed to work with me. So it's not like I just grabbed a random company.
Of
Um,
course. Right.
but hungry. And then when that failed, it hurt hard because I'm like, I knew in my heart this was the course. I was like, I have to buy this course. So I sat on that for 8 months or whatever it was, and that's when you and I were going after the HVAC company, and
Yes.
you really got big into the business acquisition stuff, and I started saying I want to learn more about that too because I believe in my heart that I want to
Yeah.
learn business too. And that same person in the mastermind who mentioned that she go after golf courses, she was like, I really think you should dive deep into the course again because I think that's your passion. Like you seem
Right.
you're so intrigued by that. So I refocused again, and this time I said, okay, well, last time the financing was difficult. I want to make sure I get that figured out. So I started figuring out how can I get the financing. Um, and just by talking to people and figuring it out, I talked to one of your lenders, and
Mhm.
this golf course has excess land. And he was like, we cannot do SBA financing with excess land because they're afraid there's going to be moonshine operations and other kind of weird stuff going on.
Right.
And I'm like, that makes no sense, but I guess that's just how these things go. Um, but I didn't like that answer. I'm like, you know what? No, there's courses out there being bought. I don't like that
Exactly.
answer. Went to the next person, and they're like, no, SBA will finance this as long as it has good cash flow. It's a well-established business. So I went to that person. So talk to multiple lenders, talk to multiple whoever you're going
Yeah.
to get different opinions. And bada bing, bada boom, here we are,
There you are.
making the
Right.
way towards the
Exactly.
golf course.
No,
So
exactly right. You didn't give up. You kept going. And it's like it's so you hear it all the time, but you're the proof, right? Like you're literally the proof. So yeah, I mean, I think we're both the proof, right?
yeah,
We're doing what we want to do. I'm not afraid to fail, and that comes from like confidence, which comes from taking action, failing, and continuing to move forward. That's
exactly.
all. It's not that hard, people. It's just that I mean, I shouldn't say that. It is hard, but it's worth doing. If that makes
Yeah.
any sense. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so I think now is a good time to kind of list a few limiting beliefs, because, I want to list a few of them and we'll try and break down the barriers. And I also want to try and see if you out there listening, maybe there's an exercise or two that we could think of that could help you flesh them out. So the first one I have, and Sip, you can always go back and forth if you have any too, but the first one is you have to have money to invest or to go after something big. How would you what's your thought on that? That you have to have money.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll take it two ways, right? It is absolutely easier if you have money. Okay. There's just no doubt about it, right? I mean, we know a lot of high level people and they're able to get into deals immediately and stuff like that because they have the resources. Doesn't mean you can't get into it, right? So you're a young guy, you're just starting out. How can you add value to a team, right? You have to prove yourself, right? So what can you do? Be a deal dog, right? Be like, try to get deals for these people. Don't come to them asking them, how can I help you? Actually think of what they need help with, right? So get around them, like be of service to them. And yeah, like, I mean, what can you do? This guy needs me to contact brokers, whatever it may be, right? But you're adding value to your mentor, however it may be in whatever industry you're
Yeah.
into. That's
Yeah. And
one way
then,
to get into it without
yeah,
money.
because like you could try and find deals. You could raise money, but that's kind of a hard advanced
Yeah.
level thing. I
Yeah.
haven't done that yet. I'm working on it. But you could also do direct to seller mailers, to send out mailers. You could drive for dollars, drive by houses, see what's out
Yes.
there, drive by golf courses, like in this case. Um, there's things you could do without money that could add tremendous value. Even just scouring the internet and getting market insights on demographics and things to help people out, to figure out average market rents. Like you could do things that can add value. Say it will take a long time probably to get into deals. If you find a deal and it's your deal, then yes, you can get in pretty quick. But just adding free value, that becomes more of a long-term networking play that definitely comes into play there. Um, the next limiting belief I've got written down is you need to have experience to get into deals. And as you see with the golf course, that is totally false. You don't need experience. But what you could
Yes.
do is you can leverage others. So we learned this in the mastermind, which is if I know, like, say SIP, say you've got 1,000 units, like you're really killing it with like the real estate, and you and I have a networking, we're great friends, and you and I are in the agreement that if I find a deal, you'll help me close on it. If that's the case, you might have a website that you already have established. I can take your website and share that with brokers and owners and say, look, this is my partner. Him and I are buying these deals. They're going to look at the website and immediately see all the credibility and say, wow, this guy's the real deal. So it adds instant credibility to you as the newbie. So you don't need experience. You just got to find people who are doing it and leverage them with their approval to go after more deals.
Absolutely. Well said.
Uh, we talked about this one earlier. Uh, you need to go to school. Well, actually, no, we didn't talk about this one. If you want to change careers, you have to go back to college to get a degree in that field. I totally disagree with that. Sip, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I agree with you that it's not necessary to go back to college to get a new career. I mean, with the amount of information that's available today on the internet, it is, I mean, YouTube itself is such an incredible resource to get information on what direction you want to go to. I mean, you just have to see where you want to go and build it backwards, right? It's like what steps do I need to get there? What steps do I need to get there? So no, absolutely. I mean, I'm doing it without going to college, right? I'm completely changing careers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going from, being an electrician for over 26 years to now, just jumping into entrepreneurship, buying businesses and doing it with real estate too. Because real estate is, by the way, that is the one thing that has allowed me to make this jump, right? Because it's the seeds I planted 10 years ago, 15 years ago that are now producing the fruit, right? Which I was able to basically sell off some of the assets I have. And it's allowed me to have that capital to jump into the next stage of my life, right? If I would have never taken the action back then, this would have never happened. Same thing with you
Yeah.
with the fiveplex, right? You're able to sell that, get some money out of it, and then jump into your next opportunity, which happens to be the golf course.
Oh, exactly.
So yeah, it's about taking the action, you know what I mean? And when's the best time to take action? If you didn't do it yesterday, do it now, right?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not about timing the market when it comes to that, like with the mindset. Just get in
Yes.
whenever you want to. Market might be hot, but you can still get into real estate, still get into business.
Yeah.
Gotta be smart with it, but it's time in the market, not timing the market. And
Exactly.
and to go off of a funny story with the you have to go back to college or schooling for a
Mhm.
degree. Sip, you'll find this funny because I actually never shared this with you yet. When I had this golf course under contract, again, my Facebook page is like spamming me with like, oh, you should go to this uh, golf university online, get a golf management degree. And I actually clicked on the link 'cause I was interested to see what I could learn with a golf management degree. But then I double took on that and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm buying a golf course. Why do I need a management degree? I'm going to be managing it. I don't need to learn how to manage it. I'll be managing it. Like, so
Right.
I had that double take, like, wait a minute, never mind. I'm just gonna ignore this. And then I got spam calls for like a week straight from these guys trying to get me to sign up on their course. But that's just a
Yeah.
little funny story of how you don't need schooling to change careers. Because
No, yeah.
I'm going to share here soon about the rich dad poor dad cash flow quadrant stuff. Like going to school means more debt. The more debt you have, the more reliant you are on your job, and the harder it is to get out of your job to go after your dreams. So don't get stuck in this kind of circular pattern where you have to keep going back to school to change your career. Um,
Yeah.
just start making
And
moves.
I mean, just to add to that too, if you are a doctor, a lawyer, whatever it is, of course it is absolutely necessary to go to school, right? I mean, you want to be well educated, right? And if you love it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with sticking with your job, right? But it still doesn't mean you can't like invest in real estate or something like that. It's just a whole different level at that point, right? You're just trying to build either a stronger retirement portfolio or whatever it may be. But yeah, but is it a necessity? Absolutely not,
Yeah.
to your point.
And I will argue that and say you don't need a degree to be a doctor. No, I'm just joking. Uh,
Okay, that's
I'm just
a whole
joking.
other.
I would hope you have a
Yeah,
degree to go into that field. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
the last limiting belief that I've got, which is again a big thing for me, and I think we all face this too, is um, when I started the social media game, I never got into it for like the longest time because I was like, oh, I don't want to be that guy sharing pictures of my food and doing this and that because I had the limiting belief that that was social media. And then again, joining the mastermind, which again, you keep hearing that the mastermind, getting around people who are doing it. Um, they basically help shed light on like, why don't you do it for business? Share what you're doing and don't not like don't try and like raise money or things, but just post what you're doing and people will like to see how things are going. And so the limited belief of people will judge you based on what you post. And I want to say you might get some haters, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that a lot of that is just in your head. You are assuming this fabrication that everyone's going to be judging you constantly. Like,
Right.
oh, if I post me on my property, they're going to be like, oh, you're wasting your money. You're doing this, you're doing that. I will tell you, when I did it, I only had one negative comment out of all the posts. And to this day, that comment still haunts me a little bit because I'm so annoyed by that one person who was like,
Yeah,
oh, this is a scam. Don't do this. Multifamily's bad. One comment, like hundreds of other comments after that were all like, you got this, way to go. You're killing it. And then you go to family functions and they're like, oh, how's the real estate going? You're crushing it. And like, it's all been uplifting. So people, as bad as it sounds, people care a lot less about you than what you are thinking they do.
absolutely.
So
I couldn't agree with you more because guess what? They care about themselves, right? It's just, I
exactly.
mean, that's it. So it's, I mean, we're talking to a very specific audience here, obviously, right? Of like entrepreneur mindset and, wanting to go after the goals and stuff like that. So not everybody's going to be like that, and that's okay.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
That's,
And if you like your job and you love your job and your goal, your end goal is a lot smaller, it's only as small as what you think it is. Like don't tell, if I say it's small, I don't mean it's small. Like we all have different levels of where our goals are. And
yes,
exactly. So because like I talk to a lot of people too who when they hear what I'm doing, they think I'm exhausted and tired and when am I ever going to just like relax? I'm thinking I am relaxed. This
right.
energized self of me minus the coffee I'm
Yes.
drinking is very
Right.
excited, very go, go, go. That's just who I am. I love
Well,
what I
every
do, and
time,
I'm,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly, Ryan. Like every time we talk about this stuff, dude, we come out more energized from the conversation. It's not like work to us, right? Like we're excited about doing this. It's the complete opposite of when I have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and go to my W-2, right? I am
oh
not
yeah,
excited about that. It's boring. It's just the routine kills you, and there's nothing that, you're not building anything for yourself. So well, look, it's right now, it's 11:30 at night. I woke up at 4:30 this morning because I still haven't quit my W-2. But I'm excited and I'm energized to be talking to you,
oh
right? I'm
yeah,
not yawning, I'm not doing anything because it's like it just goes to when you're doing something you love, it doesn't feel like work. And that's
exactly.
so important, so important. So yeah, good
Exactly.
stuff.
And yeah, and another side story too. I had a friend who, once we got into the full-time world, I was not loving my career path, and he doubled into it and he loved it. And he was working every night till like midnight on his job. And I was like, dude, you gotta live your life. You have to be more like enjoy life. Why are you working? Why like I was actually I didn't realize this. I was portraying my own beliefs and my own thoughts onto him because I was like
Right.
my job's not great. Why are you liking your job? You shouldn't be liking it. I'm not saying this to him, but I'm thinking it, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it's coming off of me a little bit. And when I got into the real estate realm, and obviously now into this golf stuff, again, 11:30 at night. Heck, I would even after this, I plan on doing some of my W-2, getting some more work done. I'm
That's
doing
great.
my late night work because I'm working on my myself first. But
Right.
once I realized that there's no difference. He loves what he does, so he stays up late and grinds and crushes it. We're staying up late doing the exact same thing because we love it.
Yeah,
So everyone has their own likes, and you just need to follow your passion. Um,
absolutely.
and I wanted to get into let me share my screen real quick because I wanted to share this one concept.
Sure.
Um, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. If not, then this would be really interesting to share with you. But this is the middle class versus the rich, how they work. You've got your income statement sheet on both of these. Um, I'm sharing this because I want to show how you could start maybe changing your lifestyle if you want to. You don't have to, and how you can become richer and richer in your life. So, for example, on the left here, the majority of us we have a job. And let me zoom in a little bit more here. So we have a job. It comes in as your salary, as your income. You immediately buy liabilities. Liabilities are things that take money out of your pocket. Like you have a
Yeah,
mortgage, you buy a car, credit cards, school loans. You get those things. Those obviously become expenses, taxes, mortgage payments, car payments, credit cards, all that, and that money leaves your pocket, and you have a little bit of cash left over that you spend on fun stuff. When you want to change your job, you think I need to go back to school to get a better job. So what does that do? You add another liability. You increase your school loans, which
yep,
increases your expenses. So when you feel like inflation's is going up, um, you don't have enough money. You think going back to school to get a new job that pays more is the answer. I'm telling you, it might be the answer, but it also might be something that's going to increase your expenses and just keep your same expenditure, your same cash flow each month the exact same. Whereas the rich tend to think, and again, the rich people doesn't have to be millionaires, just people who think differently. they have money coming in from a job, rental properties, royalties, dividends, businesses. When that money comes in, first they buy assets. Assets are like rental real estate, stocks, bonds, notes, businesses. They're things that have value. Once that money that they make off that property goes back into their income. So it's kind of like a circular pattern of money comes in, they buy assets, then they buy more things. And
Absolutely.
obviously they're going to buy liabilities and stuff out of that, but this is how the cycle goes and how you should consider thinking how your money should go.
Yeah, this is what they should have taught us in school, right? But they never will. So
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Because again, if you talk to your mom, dad, your aunt, uncle, they're going to say, why don't you get a new job if you're struggling with money? And you may say, well, I always wanted to be a dentist, or, well, again, you need to go to school for that. I've always wanted to be, I don't know, a developer, or I always want to do something different. They're going to say, oh, well, you can go to this local trade school or do this. You can get a degree in this. And then you end up doing that. That's the trap of doing this. Whereas what you could do, and again, this is just my opinion, you could start networking with people who are doing it, find developers, find investors, get in that circle, and maybe you could add value. Maybe you could pick up materials for them, do things like Sip was saying for free, in hopes to join them on a deal and learn hands-on. So
Yeah,
this is just a way of thinking of how can I buy assets and reduce my amount of liabilities. You're always going to have liabilities and expenses, but how can you buy more assets that will pay you even more and keep buying more and more assets? And the assets can pay for your liabilities. So
exactly.
I don't want to dive
That's
too much into that, but that's just a rough overview. I think it's worth sharing. So
absolutely. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I read that book. Like, that's actually what got me into my first investment property. And yeah, it's been, trial and error since then, but I'm glad I did it. I'm really
yeah.
glad I
So real quick, I want you to first I want to ask a few questions here for the audience. Obviously you guys can't answer, but feel free to put in the comments what your goals are and where you're stuck. I will reach out, Sip can reach out, reach out to us. We want to help you break through your limiting beliefs. But a couple of questions for you. Jot these down and on a sheet of paper, take note and really think through this. So first thing is, if there was no restrictions, you had all the money in the world, all the time, no job, what would be your biggest goal? Like, what would you want to go after? Okay. So think that through. And then once you think of that, the next question is, who do you know who's doing that thing currently? Okay. So think of maybe a few people if you can. Who do you know who's currently doing that thing? Now, the next one is how can you meet somebody who is doing that thing? So maybe you don't know anybody. How can you meet somebody who is doing that thing? Now,
yeah,
those three questions, and again, you can pause, rewind it a little bit, and go back to that. What this is doing is it's trying to implement the who, not how principle. So, Sip and I both have this experience too with the mastermind of the first year of the mastermind. Our main goal was to network with like as many people as possible with this golf course. Who, not how. I wanted to buy a golf course. Who do you know who has a golf course? Well, as soon as I was talking to the one person in the mastermind about it, she knew somebody who owned a golf course and she was willing to connect me. Okay, so I had a who. Once I talked to that who, I asked her how she was doing it and how she's doing, who does she know? And I found out more who's, more people who are doing it and how they're doing it. And I just keep going down the cycle of finding out who's doing it and how they're doing it. Next thing
yeah,
you know the industry, you know what's going on, you know solutions to problems that you would have never thought you would have known based on that goal. So just a
yeah,
little exercise to help you go through that and figure out how can you go after your goal, how can you break it into um, manageable smaller steps. So what is the
yeah,
most important next step? So for the week, my most important next step is maybe I just need to get my workout equipment dusted off and ready to go. Next week I need to
right,
work out 3 times. So
yeah,
what's your most important next step?
yeah,
Sip, do you have anything to
and
say?
yeah, go into your thing about like, so it may be daunting for some people in the audience, right? Because they may actually not know anybody who's doing it, right? So guess what? There's a book out there. It's called The Third Door by Alex Banayan, and it's all about like hacking systems or whatever that's the new word nowadays, hacking, but like figuring out how to meet that person that is your idol, right? Or you're, that is doing the thing you're doing. So, like, just because you don't know the person directly, just by taking some, read a book, that could be your action step to then, catapulting you into the next step that you need to take. So, yeah, cool stuff.
Exactly. And the last thing I kind of want to end on here is you may not know your limiting beliefs, and an exercise that I've done way back when, again, I forget which book I read this from. You basically write down a goal or something like that, and you kind of make a kind of like a you keep asking the question, um, why? Like I want to buy a golf course. Okay, well, why? Well, because I want to do more of what I love. Okay, why? Well, I currently don't do enough golf. I work too much. Why? I have to provide for my family. I have a big mortgage. I got all these responsibilities. Why? You just keep working it down until you can't think of
Yeah.
any more whys. And by the end of that, you might find out that my main thing behind me, the main drive is I just want to connect more with my kids or this. Okay, well, you can start doing that now. It may not be the end goal to get to that point. You can start solving that now, but you might start finding some things throughout there that are things that you currently believe in. Like maybe one of your whys, you might look back on and say, well, why do I believe this? And okay, well, there's no like you basically every single thing you can branch out more and more and really
Yeah.
just just constantly think of all these whys, and you could actually start fleshing out like these roadblocks in your stream. Well, I didn't achieve this because because of this. Well, why not?
No, I really like that because I mean that goes into, I think it's another way of saying like thinking from first principles, right? Like I think I read Elon Musk's biography, and that's a big thing with him, right? He's like, well, why? Why is it done this way? So because just because it's been done for the last 30 years doesn't mean we can't do it better, right? So that's an
Exactly.
excellent, I love that exercise.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
I did that for my own personal brand that I was thinking of. I also did it for my career, my family. And it really is therapeutical to try and figure out what is the real reason behind all of this. Actually, I found this out from somebody who was doing therapy. It was a therapist who suggested it. Uh, it's a tactic to actually kind of get behind your head a bit. If you're too analytical, I think too much. I'm an engineer. Sometimes taking a step out of that and just really breaking it down can really help you figure out the real reason. And that might also give you your most important next step. If this is where you need to be, start breaking away the rock wall to get to that most important thing.
That's awesome. I love that.
Um, so I want to end with that. If you want to reach out to us because you have a big goal and you're not sure how to achieve it, maybe you just need to talk to someone like us. Maybe we know somebody that could help you
Yeah,
out. All it takes is one phone call that could change your life. Um,
no doubt.
one person can help. Also use the chat below. Make sure you reach out to people. Maybe other people in the network will have answers. Yeah, just comment below what your big goal is, and let's see if we can get some solutions. So,
Yeah.
Sip, do you have any final thoughts?
Take action, people. Take action. That's all I have.
You're probably sick of hearing us say that, but yes,
Yeah, but it's
take
it's the way to
action.
do it. Yeah.
Yes, you may be. It doesn't matter how old you are in your life. There's always the next X amount of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just take action. So
Yeah.
thanks again, Sip. I appreciate it. It was a great
Yeah.
podcast.
Appreciate
Stay
you. Thank you.
stay tuned. The next podcast, I believe, is going to be an interview with a guy who invented this board. Well, it's an indoor golf game. I'll leave it at that. It's an indoor golf game. It's very innovative. Um, it takes the seasonality out of golf. You could play it from your home, your living room. It is fantastic. He's a great person. So stay tuned for that. Really impressive interview. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Take care, everybody.
I thank you.